My name is Amy Spears. I am the manager of the Digital Unions, which is in the Learning and Collaborative Environments department. And I've been with Ohio State for about 18 years, and the last 4 I've been in OTDI in this role. So the thing I usually tell people is that the digital unions are designed to get technology into people's hands that's either technology they don't have access to at the university or something that maybe only certain departments have access to, or you may have access to it during a given class and then you lose that access once you're not in that class anymore. So especially as we've expanded into things like makerspace, that's things like laser cutting, 3D printing, the audio and video recording studio, the podcast studio we just put in, where a lot of times these facilities exist in a department, but they're kind of siloed for that department. So we're trying to kind of get rid of the gatekeeping and have it be open to all, and also have it be open to beyond just curricular. So I always say that everything you're doing, your whole college experience, not just your classwork, is something you can work on in the digital unions. The first digital union was in what is now the 18th Avenue Library. And then after about, I think, 10 years or so, they took that location and split it into 4 and then at 1.5 different locations across campus. And so we're thinking about, is it just space we offer? Is it the technology in that space? And then also kind of specializing. So when Denny was converted into the audio and video studios, that's obviously a very specialized thing. And then we're kind of trying to have a different identity for each of those locations that we have now, branding them as the prototyping studio, the recording studio, and the work studios to talk about what kinds of things are available in those different locations. Denny has 2 video studios and an audio studio, and that's the DU recording studio, where you can go and do your recordings, pick up your footage right there, and save it right to OneDrive. Next closest to that one is Stillman Hall, and that's what we call a Digital Union Work Studio. So we have a poster plotter there right now, and you can do some scanning as well. We're looking into, do we need to have some maybe upgraded machines in there or different kinds of just open space for working. That one's kind of in a bit of flux. The other Digital Union Work Studio is in Haggerty Hall, and that's our largest location and our most central location. And that is a lot of people going in there to study, work on group projects, things like that, print, scan. And then we recently, I think about a year ago, put in a 4-seat podcast studio. So it's a pretty much really easy, just a 4-channel mixer with a computer, and you can sit down, the microphones are all mounted, do your recording. Because we really had seen a lot of people coming in to use the audio studio in Denny for that type of recording, but that space is very much focused on music production. So it wasn't necessarily ideal, especially for fitting that number of people into the space. So that's a fairly new addition there. And then the most recently, completely overhauled one is our location in Anderson Classroom Building, and that's the Digital Union Prototyping Studio. So we have 3D printing, laser cutting, vinyl cutter, you can cut paper, perforate, come in and work on a variety of projects. And then we have all the workspace and the scissors and glue and all kinds of things you might need to put a project together in that space. And that one's a bit more on a services model. So you submit your 3D prints or your laser cuts and we produce those for you. But then we can also have some advice on how you want to set a file up or maybe how you want to iterate a project as you're working through it. One of the things that's unique about our space, especially as I talk to other people that are managing other spaces, is that all of our locations are staffed when they're open. And so if you do have questions, you can come in and get help. That's another thing that's kind of shifted at the university, as we've seen people have their own devices and then have their own 4 or 5 devices and various levels of technology literacy coming in with the student population. Sometimes there's gaps in what kind of help is available. So I think it's really important that we're able to have those spaces staffed and have people there to help people with this. Your audience changes roughly every 4 years. And so you're never done getting the initial word out. And so we are constantly encountering people who are like, oh, I didn't know this existed here. And they're like, how long has this been here? And I'm like, well, around 20 years in some incarnation or another. So the challenge is not necessarily just getting the word out, because word of mouth does its job in a lot of cases, but also knowing that we have a finite capacity. So we only have the 3 3D printers. So at some point, I kind of want to not get the word out more because we're at our capacity. So it's that challenge of knowing, when do we need to add more of these spaces? How do we find the spaces on campus to do that in? What are the new technologies that we need to add that we haven't figured out that people want yet? The prototyping studio is right outside where my office is. I get a lot more actual contact with students and get to talk to them. So if I just happen to be in that space and someone's working on a project, I'll say, hey, what's not in here that you wished was here? Lately, that answer has been a heat press. People come in to cut iron-on transfers on the Cricut, and then they have to go home and use their regular iron, if they have one, to be able to put that on their t-shirt or their hat or whatever. So that's probably one of the next things on our list, just because we've gotten that word of mouth feedback. But having a structured way to do that is probably one of the next things on our list.